Good morning. There's always a delay when we start and when people start filtering in, so I'll just sit here for a minute and wait for you to arrive. And of course, never a problem if you can't. This was kind of a spontaneous part too. However, if I'm going to be completely honest, I did not think we'd get it done in one sitting, but thought I would give it a good try. And everything is nice and dry and intact this morning. Let me know who you are when you join. I just see amount of people. I don't see who you are. And we'll just wait another minute or so. I have myself a nice hot coffee, so I'll be sipping on that. I never noticed last night until I looked at the picture that my arrows are going a little wonky. That's the thing of crafting under camera when you're looking sideways. Good morning, Irene. I really should have tilted it up to see, but we'll go with the flow. Not too concerned about it. Good morning, Irene. Hi, Linda. How are you? Missed you yesterday. It's the summer and people are busy. I totally get it. It is rainy here today, so it's perfect. I'm not going to spend too much time waiting for people to filter in, as I'm grateful that you're with me for round 2 to finish this up. And I had a viewer ask today, how are we going to paint resin pieces? Well, if you watch the first episode of when we built this much, I talked about how important it is to cover your pieces with a gesso. And it's the gesso that's the primer. So whenever you're painting a large project like a house or something that's really important, you generally put a primer on it. And that primer smooths the surface, or it just allows the paint to adhere to it better. And that's kind of what the primer does for the resin. This will be my first time painting over resin, so I'll be interested to see if a couple of coats of primer was enough. And we'll go from there. So this part is so easy. It's easy, but then you have a lot of choices to make. Sorry, I have to get up and move my mat. The choices are, what colors are you going to use, and the order in which you're going to use your colors. So I already predetermined when I had the vision of doing this that, hi Linda, oh great, that I wanted this lighthouse to be sitting on like a cliff or some rocks. So you might see some pencil marks in there, and that was just kind of helping me guide as to where my lighthouse was going to sit. So this is going to be quite dark. I don't want a black, but I do want a pretty charcoal with maybe some shadowing. And then all from this corner upwards will be different tones of blues. So I imagined that, you know, this blue from here down might be a little bit different color than, say, blue from here up, because this could signify the ocean, and then from here up would be the sky. So we're just gonna dive in and play with it and see where we go. So the first painful thing is picking out your color. So I'll show you what I've picked out, and I have kind of a menagerie of items, mostly from the Distress line, but some from Art Deco, I do believe. So of course I have the Distress stains and sprays. I have some of the mica stains, because I'm thinking this is going to look very sharp when we put details inside the windows of the lighthouse. I think this mica stain painted in there will look very nice. And then I have some other of the mica stain, like this one's called Iron Gate. So I might be able to incorporate some down on the rock for that. And what else do I have over here? Some blue mica stain. This one is called Juniper Berry, which is a very, almost like beachy kind of blue. And then I have Frozen Fog, which is a silver. So I have those sitting out, and I know for sure I'm going to be starting with this, the antique linen. And then over beside me, I've pulled all my re-inkers that are blue or like weathered wood. I feel like I'm going to start with that for my rock. There's some vintage photo in browns. When we looked at the color palette for this line, the lighthouse is kind of like, you know, we have some brown, and I like this color palette. I like the kind of muted colors of the soft blues. This is kind of like a gray. So that's how I'm going to kind of copy that in how I color the lighthouse. And they have like brown doors. This one's sitting on sand, but mine's going to be sitting on a rock. So I like that color palette. So I went through all my re-inkers and I grabbed out of it kind of, pardon me, what this color palette would be. And then for the deco art, I have, and I don't know if you recall when we did our gel press classes, but I had said that I had purchased these paints. They're called Antiquing Cream, or the other one, it's fluid acrylics. So what these are, they're very high pigmented, very fluid, liquid paints, and you can use them the same way that I'm going to show you with the re-inkers on how to color your piece. So any of these would work. If you have just straightforward acrylic paints, you can certainly like water them down quite a bit to have the same effect. So we're just going to show a few ways to do it. Hopefully we'll get through it today. We're going to have to dry layers in between. So you're going to be seeing me do a lot of repetitious work. So adding color, moving the color, and drawing. So that's where we're going to go. And then at the very end, I have my stash of waxes. So these are absolutely fantastic. So this is the Finnabar Prima, and I like the matte wax. It's a very thick, waxy finish, and that's what you're going to, and most of the time I use my finger. When you drag it over surfaces, it will just pick up the top markings, and it will leave this beautiful finish. And I just love them for that. As you can see, I have a few colors. Gold, or the brass, is one of my favorite, aged brass. To me, it almost looks like gold. White pearl is another one that's really my favorite. Rusty brown. So these are really fun to use. And we'll get into that. But that's at the very, very end when we kind of wrap it up. And then even before I put on my waxes, again, this class made me kind of go through my stash. I found this old jar. It's called Gala Glitz, but any kind of shaker bits and pieces. But this one is very, it's got like browns and golds, and it's shiny. So I am going to sprinkle bits, put some glue down, and then sprinkle some of this inside little crevices to symbolize maybe sand or something like that, just to bring a little sparkle. And I have these micro black beads that I just threw up here. I don't think I'll use these this time, but again, any kind of look through your stash and see what you have. Like these are just like very fine beads, but when you put them on your projects, it makes it look really nice. It's great for shaker bits too. So I'll put that up there. beside me some little paint wells. So this is how I will control how much of the paint I'm going to put down, or the ink, because as you know, these re-inkers are very highly pigmented and they're very concentrated. So I don't want to just drop a dropper full on my project, because that will be way too much ink. So I'm just going to put it in the little wells, add some water, and we're going to have it a little bit more controlled. So I find the hardest part is starting. So what I'm taking is Antique Linen. This is one of my favorite distress spray stains. So they used to have the old distress stain or distress stain pat tops, and then they just put them all in re-inkers, or sorry, in spray bottles. And I love this one a lot, and I'm just going to go for it. I might have to stand it up because I don't have a lot of ink left. And what I'm going for is I just want some color down, just to get me going. And you're probably like, oh, but it's just to get us started. And then my water bottle, and then I have a cloth here to dab. So already you kind of see where this is going, right? You spray, you put your color down, you spray, and then you can dab off. Now I'm not going to dab off too much because I want that antique color to start me off. So I'm just going to pull up my dry and dry that. So this is just to get us going. And distress spray stains are already somewhat diluted, so that's why I was comfortable just spraying it right on. The re-inkers are a different beast. So those, or the liquid acrylics, I wouldn't just spray it on. And then if you have puddles, you can take your cloth to sop it up, and I'm going to be gentle. But it's important to dry in between. I get my fingers in it as well. And it doesn't have to be 100% dry, but somewhat dry. And I can tell already this little bit underneath here is going to pull up because it's underneath something. So that's layer number one. So let's start with our rock. So I'm going to take a little bit of my weathered wood, and weathered wood is kind of like a gray blue, but I think it will be a nice color, and you don't need much. It'll be a nice color to start with for my rock. I'm just going to take my paintbrush. I'm just going to start dabbing it. And then my spray bottle, and spray, and you kind of let it do its thing. And you're going to see me tilting. And this is more of a kind of a blue-gray. And this is how we're going to get this thing colored. Now it does take patience, and it does take some time. But if you're willing to put the time and the patience in, you will have a beautiful project when you're done. Let me know if you have any questions as you're watching. And you know, if you overheat, it can kind of soften your modeling paste and your glue that you use. That's why you want to be gentle. But you see how the color is kind of, wherever there's a crevice, it's staying more concentrated. And that is nice. That's kind of what you want. So I think I'm done with Weatherwood for right at the moment, and I want to bring in something that's darker because I want that rock. So I'm gonna go, I have Hickory Smoke, so I'm gonna go with that next. Again, eventually I'll probably get to the black, but I just want to start gentle. I'm going to go look for a round brush, if I need a round brush. And why I say that is it's a round brush is just easier to get in the little cracks. And as it's wet, you can dab more and let it flow. This is why I got the reinkers. I used to get the reinkers with every pad I got, and I kind of stopped doing that because I found that by the time I needed to reink my pad, I pretty much needed a new pad because of the top part. Well, I shouldn't really say that. I have a lot of my original pads left. I guess I'm just not really rough with pulling the ink off of them like some designers or people do. But I bought the inkers more for this sort of stuff. And I do re-ink my pads every now and again. That's coming. So we're getting a little color on there. Dry that layer. And again, as when you get into the little crevices, it gets darker. So now we got a layer of the weathered wood and one of Hickory Smoke. Now we are going to hit it with, I'm going to bring out a little bit of the Antique cream called Carbon Black. Let's see what this does for us. Oh, gotta shake it. Even though they're called liquid, you still have to shake them really good. Just brush in my water. But that stain stuck pretty good to the lighthouse. So I'm impressed with that. That tells me that the coats of gesso that we laid down is going to take the colors really well. So that's nice. Ooh, this is pretty dark, but that's okay. I'm ready for that now. It's kind of like you almost have to work yourself up into it. And I'm just going kind of along my pencil lines. If it seeps out outside of that, totally okay with that. And I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm just getting some color down. My best fun with these projects is the detailing work. So like after all the colors down and like you want to highlight certain areas, that's where I really like So you see when we hit this with water, you want it to flow a little bit because you don't want harsh lines. You kind of want your paints and your mediums to flow into each other easily. Have some paper towel handy. And I did put a silicone mat down on top of my glass mat that I had because I thought there was too much glare from the glass today. And then you just take your paintbrush and move it wherever you want it. And when your ink is where you want it, that's when you dry. I'm just going to put a little bit of dark in here. I have to say, between the two, the Distress ink is really nice. I didn't try the black soot for blackness, but the liquid acrylics has more intensity. But I did start off with pretty light colors in the Distress line, so we'll see as we go. I'm just going to give my brush a little wipe, give this a little dry. Not complicated, hey? What are you guys thinking so far? Is this something that you could see yourself venturing out in and doing? So at the end, when we take our waxes, and I take my finger and I brush it over these swirls that we created with the modeling paste, it is going to pop. Hi Heather, thanks for popping in. And this is a nice tip too. If you take your finger and just dab it into the wet paint and move it, you'll create little patterns or textures just from your fingers. So I like that for my rock. So to me, that's kind of be where the lighthouse sits. And now I'm going to focus in on the rest behind the lighthouse. The lighthouse itself I'll wait till last, but I'm going to focus in on all of this. So I'm going to start with, I think I'll start from the top and start with my lighter blues, because I envision my sky being a little bit lighter than the ocean. And for those of you who were on last night, remember when I said it will start looking like a hot mess before it looks better? Well, we're getting to the hot mess. But trust the process. So I think I'm going to, I'm just looking at my reinkers that I have. I have one here that's, I haven't even opened. Broken China. I like Broken China, kind of look for sky. But I think I'm going to go actually with a Stormy Sky. The kits have sold out, but the products Sherry is using are in the online store. Wonderful, Heather. Yep, and I never even, as I spoke last night, the kit, when I seen the line, I really wanted that product. So I had asked Heather to make a kit with the paper and the embellishment pack and the rub-ons. But then when I seen the molds that she had coming for it, I was like, oh my gosh. Can we also throw in there a tag and some of the molds, and we'll do a mixed media tag, and gracefully she did. So you're going to get multiple projects out of that kit. And I plan on doing a scrapbook layout with the kit, with the rub-ons, the paper, and the embellishment pack, as well as some cards. So when I do that, I'll post for your inspiration. I don't believe it will be a class kind of take, but I'll definitely post. I have to start paying attention to see which well I have. I think this is the, where did I put my blue? That Stormy Sky. Yep. So as you can see, it looks really dark when I put it down. And these seagulls, I'm just going to go around them, but I will do them like in a gray. But the Stormy Sky reinker is very concentrated. It's very pigmented. And the clouds, I'll wait and do those probably and a gray as well. So just get some colors down. And I kind of look funny. I have no glasses on because I now have 2 pairs of glasses. Oh joy, one for the computer and one for everything else. And I don't know where my computer ones are. So I'm trying to fly without glasses right now. And then I'm just going to move this around. So you move your colors all about so they'll drag. And see, they'll just automatically go around the edges of the things that are higher and raised. So I'm going to dry that. And also every time that you dry, and there's a little bit of blue in that cloud, which is perfectly fine. I kind of like that. And even if blue gets on the birds, that's okay. And if you haven't watched last night's and you're wondering, well, where did all these bits and pieces come from? They're not in my kit. Well, as I explained to the people that were online last night, I go into my stash. These projects are an excellent way where you can go into metal embellishments, chipboard, wood pieces, anything that you might have in your stash from long ago projects. These are the projects that you take them out, and they don't have to make sense. Like there's gears and clocks on this. It doesn't really make sense, but it just gives you foundation to build on. So everything, anything goes. But yeah, it's kind of starting to look messy. This is kind of what I call the uncomfortable stage of art. It's when you're doing something and you're like, I'm not really liking where that is at right now. And I can't say I do like it right now, but I know I will in the end. And if you like dark, intense areas, just leave them as dark and intense. But I do want my sky a little bit lighter. That kind of intensity I'd like down by my ocean. So I'm just going to add more water and get it to drag. Like a little bit of ink does go a long way. You can tap some off. I'm going to get in here inside the gears. And I might do the gears a different color, I'm not sure. I could add another accent color in there, we'll see. But this is kind of my base blue. And I like the way that that just kind of naturally blended that way. So there's little bits that I like right now. And this is so relaxing. It's relaxing if you don't get in your head. And if you're constantly saying, oh, I hate it, I hate it, I hate it, then it's not going to be a joyful process for you. But if you're like, well, I don't really like it right now, but we're going to see where it goes, then you'll be okay. And that's part of mixed media. Either you love it or you hate it. As I said last night, mixed media lovers are those that don't necessarily need control over the details. They're willing to let things go, take its course, and go where it may go. So I'm just going to use my paintbrush to drag some of that blue down here, because I don't care if it mixes with the top of the rock, but I don't want it to go all the way down into my rock. Just like that. Now I am going to dry this because I love that intensity of the blue right now behind the lighthouse. Is this making sense to anybody? Am I explaining it well enough as to kind of what the process is? And you really do have to just get in there and play. And it doesn't have to be a big thing like this. It can be like a small 4x4 piece that you start with. But the thing I like about larger pieces is it really allows you to let the ink do its thing. Because a little bit of ink does go a very long way. I'll say I like that. Right there behind the lighthouse. You see how intense it kind of is? I like that. And as I said last night, what are you going to do with it? Well, for me, I'm just going to add it to a display here in my craft space in its inspiration. Okay, let's continue on. And you can certainly wet your surface first. If you want, you can put some water down and then drop your ink. There's no really right or wrong way of doing it. I'm just going to try to be a little bit controlled where the blue meets the black. What are you up to today, Heather? Are you getting your new home all in order and fixing up your craft room? That's always exciting. Fixing up your new space. So I'm going to get inside the gears. Like I said, I might do a different color on top of the gears. Now it is a little bit darker down here on the bottom, which is okay with me because that's kind of where I was going with anyway. And I don't want there to be harsh lines between the rock and the sky. Now if you're somebody that really wants that fine detail, when you're all done, you can take pencil crayons and you can sketch in that fine detail. Now there is a piece, I'm going to take the ink off of my clock. So if there's ink that comes on something that you don't want it to be on, just dab it off with your cloth. I'm happy with this first layer of color. What are you guys thinking? I know there was a lot of people that was like, ooh, I really like that when it was just white. But there's work to be done, right? We can't have it just white. Now I do want to concentrate the blue almost like a shadow in behind the lighthouse. So I'm going to keep going on that. I'm just looking to see if there's any more comments. So I'm going to take more of that same blue. And that's another thing, like you don't have to have multiple colors. If you just have a couple of different colors, you make lighter and deeper colors depending on how much water you add. So if you want a lighter shade, if you only have like one blue, then put it down but add a lot of water to make it lighter in the beginning. And then just lessen it, lessen the water as you work. I think I need a little bit more ink, but I do like that darker shade back there. It's giving it some shadow. So stormy sky. Stormy sky for the wind so far. And let me just keep going with the shadow around this base. So yes, please do go back and watch last night's at some point if you haven't seen it, because it kind of shows you the stuff I pulled from my stash that you can use. And I talked about if you don't have much in your stash as far as wood embellishments or chipboard embellishments, then die cut some. If you have dies, die cut some random things and stick them together. Use a heavy stock paper, glue them together, and add some great dimension. Like this little anchor, it was wooden pieces and I wanted it higher, and they were quite thin, so I had 3 of them and I offset them and glued them together. So I do like that. And I'm going to put some ink right underneath. I don't think anybody will ever see way underneath there, but I'm going to do that. And I see I probably need to put a little bit of gray in there too. So I'm going to take this black and do a little hit in there. I'm not hearing anything. You guys are so quiet. What do you think? Are you hating it? Are you seeing something that you think you could do? Are you loving it? And please don't, I've often said you'll never hurt my feelings. If I'm asking, it's because I really want to know how you're feeling. Oh, I do like that intensity. And it's coming off a little bit darker for you because it's wet. But I do like that dark, intense blue around the lighthouse. So we're going to dry that. And then we're going to add some more blues to the sky. I was saying that this is an American lighthouse. It's not a Canadian one, or at least not a maritime kind of one. Someone mentioned that PEI had one like that, but they're not traditionally the maritime lighthouses we see. We see like the actual house with the beacon on top around here. But these ones are really fun. I think I want a little bit, oh, I used it all up again. I think I want a little bit more of that intensity just down here on the bottom. They all look like dark ink, so I'll have to be careful which well. That's why I brought out multiple little dishes here. Now, if something should happen, I always like to say it where my live stops, because, you know, technology is wonderful until it doesn't work. No fret. I will end this session and then jump on to a new one. This is the hardest thing for lives for me, is trying to hold a conversation. So tell me a story, anything. I haven't looked, maybe I'm on here by myself, which is perfectly fine too. But I don't want it to be boring. I think that's why a lot of artists do their videos, just tape them and then put them out as reels, like a fast forward video. Heather, I was saying last night how I kind of think I want to learn how to do that so that I don't have people on here for a crazy amount of time, because full disclosure, I don't know how long this is going to take me today, but I do want to see it to the end, and I am a sucker for the details. So however long it is, there's no expectations from the audience to stay on, that's for sure. But do let me know when you do watch the video or you try this yourself. I love seeing your projects. I love seeing what you've created from the ideas that we give you. It's just so much fun. Okay, so my next color, sip coffee, and then I kind of want a different blue, not necessarily darker. I really didn't think that Stormy Sky would be that dark. So I'm going to take one that's even lighter. This is Tumble Glass. And I'm just going to mix some of that in to see how that plays together. So you need a dish of water. And I'm not going to do it all over because I just want hits of the different blues, not necessarily over everywhere. So I'm just going to put it on here and there and spritz it and kind of let it flow where it wants to flow. That's a nice blue. I just want different tones of blue. Maybe underneath the clouds. And that's a good way to do it too if you're wanting to add different colors, if you just want to concentrate on underneath things for the colors. And you can pick it up from one area and drag it to another. Like in Tumble Glass. Oh my gosh, we've been at it for 45 minutes already. The time just goes when you're doing stuff like this. Heather, if you need me to jump off, like I never even looked at the schedule today, I do apologize. If there's something coming up that I need to be off at a certain time, no problem, because this was kind of an impromptu add-on. And pardon me, because I did not even look at the schedule. I made an assumption that it would be okay. I forget that I'm hogging the Uniques Facebook page when I'm doing this. So I don't want to go, wait, because I like that dark blue that's there. I just want to add some of this blue, maybe to the edges. So I'm not going to add any of this light blue down here because I want this part to stay a little bit lighter, and I'm going to make down here a little bit darker. I'm just going to add a little bit of water into this, and I'm going to leave that, and we're going to do some splatters just to get some of that lighter blue around. Like the way the blue is kind of hitting the clouds just from the splatters, I'm not sure I'm going to need to do too much else to my clouds, because I kind of like that little subtle look. I might do like a little bit of lost shadow in there, or some grayish tones. It's getting there. Heather, are you having a live tonight? You might have stepped away, but I think I seen that on the calendar. I always look forward to those. Okay, so I'm just going to dip this in, and I'm just going to do a few splatters and just let that splatter dry on the background. It's amazing what a few little splatters will do. So I'm going to put this palette aside for now because I don't want to confuse my colors. Actually, no, I think I'm happy with those blues. Maybe I can clean out a well. There. I'll clean out a couple of wells. There wasn't much in there. So I do want to add a darker blue down here. And I have two options. And I'm not sure, but I think I'm going to try it. Chip Sapphire. So Chip Sapphire is kind of in the purple family. And then I have Faded Jeans over there, and I have Salty Ocean, which maybe I should use Salty Ocean since that's what it's called. But I just want some darkness down in this area, and I think I'm going to get that from the purple. Maybe I'll try a little Salty Ocean first just to make sure, because once I put this stuff on, the Salty Ocean isn't going to be as easily seen. Okay. Anybody ever watercolor with these re-inkers? It's fabulous. It's an awesome way to watercolor. That concentration is so high that you just need a dollop. I'm going to put a little bit of water in there. Oh, that is a pretty brilliant blue. Maybe I won't have to, but I know I'm going to want to try the Chip Sapphire. But that is a pretty blue. I'll squirt some water here shortly. Oh, that is quite pretty. I'm glad I decided to use it. And all these pieces have some gesso on them, so that's what's able to take the liquid or the ink. And let this run down a little bit. I'm going to dry that as it is there. So a lot of putting down, a lot of drying, same steps. And you can remove it if it's not dry, so it was kind of creeping in on my black rock there a little bit. So I just lifted it up with my fingers. Now that the Tim Holtz crayons have come in, I have no doubt you'll be able to also use them on stuff like this. I just wanted to go with something that I was familiar with for this class, but I'm sure I'll be trying them. I do really love them. Okay, and I am going to try the Chip Sapphire just because I have to. And I'm just going to put it down, kind of the very edge here, kind of where the rock is meeting the ocean that's behind it. And then we'll start working on our other pieces, and we might have to come back to the sky to give it some detail, but I kind of want to leave that area have a chance to settle down. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put some in these circles. I did add some water to the ink before I started laying it down, so I did water it down a little bit. But I do like that intensity. And you're only going to get the blend of colors once you snap it with water to allow it to flow and blend. Oh, I do like that. And lay some up here. And you can be precise. Like I kind of went into the lines of this modeling piece area. I hit you guys right at lunchtime. No, I didn't. It's not lunchtime for you, it's lunchtime for me. But I ate before I came on. Just going to carry a little bit of it up here. I'm going to dry that. We're getting there. And sometimes when you start drawing, you see like a little bit area that you just want more flow to, or a little bit of it less concentrated, so you can go ahead and spritz it at that point. Water, that's what I like about these inks. They're water activated. So unless you are going to cover this whole project with something to seal it, then it will forever be water reactive. Now once you put wax on it, that does seal those spots. I'm going to get a little bit of that dark purple. down in these wells. Oh, thanks, Shelly. You're liking it? I know people are leaving and coming back as they're busy. It's getting there. It's getting there. So, like, you know, we have our blues, we have our dark colors for the rock, lots of shadowing underneath. Sometimes I'll do shadowing with the wax, but because of how we have this piece of chipboard situated, to me it looked like a net. That's why I use that. I'm not going to be able to get in there with the wax. Well, I might be able to get in there with a blending brush, but I like the darkness of that blue, and I might go back in and hit it even a little bit darker. So, onward to our seagulls, which I said I'm going to use some Lost Shadow. We'll put a little drop down. They're not that big seagulls, so we don't need a whole bunch. And all I've been using is little drops anyway. And then we can kind of have a look and see what else we want to use this gray on. And there is a little bit of colors in there already from the antique linen that we sprayed with originally, and some blues. So we already have a little bit of color on them. And these are they're resin. But again, they were prepped with gesso, so it does take the color. And these are going to come out really nice when we hit them with the wax, because they have a lot of little details built right into the resin. Lost Shadow is nice. It's just a nice gray. That's kind of what seagulls are around my area. They're kind of a dirty white. They're not bright white. And you can certainly spritz them too. I just don't want all the color to leave, so if I spritz them, just to get that movement, because that's the only way you're going to get the movement of color is if you hit it with water, and then you can dry it so that it stays where it is. This paper towel right in that edge, because there's a bit of water pooling there. There. I forget with this tool I don't have to shake it. I'm so in a habit of like using my embossing gun and kind of shaking, moving it so it doesn't burn anything, but with this tool you don't have to do it. You can kind of keep it still until it dries. It does seem to take a little bit longer to dry on the resin, which isn't a big deal. So that's all I'm going to do to the birds at the moment. And now our clouds. So I'm a little bit fickled about the clouds. I like the blue that's in them, and I'm looking at the inks that I have, and I do have the reinker for antique linen, so I'm going to put just a little drop of that in my well here. I'm going to make sure my brush is clean, and I might just add a little bit of that yellowness, because the antique linen kind of dries this, well, antique linen. It's like a dirty yellow. I'm going to just pop a little bit of that in our clouds. Just kind of scatter, because I do like a little bit of the brown coming through. And oh, now I do like that. I tell you, when you hit it with the water and it just makes the color do something, and it's very magical. And one more over here. Yeah, I like that a lot for the clouds. So let's dry that. That's the trick. If you get a color where you want it and you like it, dry it, because the water that you have down will continue to move that color, and it may not be the same as what it was when you liked it if you walk away and just leave it dry on its own. I'm sure it still will be beautiful. And I know we're going to use some of this antique linen on the lighthouse. Here comes the finger, just to dab it out. Okay. Now I can see, you guys probably can't see it, but I didn't put any supports underneath my lighthouse, like on the top and on the bottom, so it's kind of raised up with whatever I put here. And all the repeated heating I'm doing, it's kind of bowing a little bit. But I know once it dries, it will come back up. So I need to look in the paper pad because I want accent colors for behind the lighthouse, for these little arrows, for the gears. So I just kind of want to see what they do. Like, why dream it up? Look and see what kind of colors they used. So they have the antique linen and the browns. And I do like the browns. Now they do have this kind of rusty color. I bet you rusty hinge. I might have to go grab that out of my drawer. I bet you that will kind of make things pop. And there's also a bit of kind of lavender. And, you know, I had some of that purple hue with the chipped sapphire, but there is a little bit of lavender in there. So we'll keep that in mind. But rusty hinge, I think definitely. And then all kinds of blues. We have room for more gray. There's that like lavender bit again, and they have like a speckle of red, which I tend to stay away from. I'm not a big red person. Okay, let me grab my rusty hinge. I had it in my hand, and then I thought, no, I won't be using that, but I think it needs a little bit of rusty hinge. I also have wild honey in here. Maybe I'll take that one out while I'm here. Rusty hinge. And I took out the wild honey, because wild honey would actually be around the same color palette as the antique linen. Okay. See, no glasses on. I don't know where I drop. Oh, my brush is in here. I was going to say, I don't know where I drop things. So up next is rusty hinge. I'll put a fair amount of that in there, just because if I like it, I'm gonna do a few things. So I'm gonna start with the arrows. And if you want to remove some of the color that got on there from previous, you can wet it and dab it. And it kind of brings the white back, it brings it back to the white. To be honest, that never bothered me. I just feel it helps your colors blend better. But if you wanted to do that, that's a good tip. Because remember, it's water reactive. Ooh. That's nice. I think I will just keep going and do these gears while I'm here. And yes, some of it's going to get into the blue, but that's okay. This is mixed media. Mix. So your medias are going to mix. Oh, I like that color with these. See, go back to your paper pad. If you're doing any kind of work like this and you're inspired by a paper pad, they're the ones that got the designers to make sure everything's matchy-matchy with color and design. So go back to them. I really like that. So I'm just going to leave that sit for a minute. And I'm going to bring some of that back down here. The other thing that I should mention is I don't like to bring a whole bunch of colors in to a piece. I find it, then your eye can't rest on anything in particular if there's too many colors. So stay within the same color family, like grays, blacks, blues, like you can use different tones and hints of blues. And antique linen, this rusty hinge kind of is within the same color family, so to me that goes well. I'm doing my anchors. I want to make sure there's some of this color on the entire anchor, so that's why I'm kind of taking my time to paint it in thoroughly. But I'll still hit it with a little bit of water. Oh, and this last one down here, starfish. And starfish is a metal embellishment, so is the thing that it's sitting on. They're metal. Just cover it with gesso and it will take your ink. You see by the spritz it kind of just splatters a little bit of the color, and I love that. And you know what, I think I want to put a little bit of this on my clouds. Oh, and I almost missed the part behind this, so I need more. So when it comes to painting things that are kind of odd shaped or hard to reach, that's where your water is really going to come in. So as long as you get a little bit of paint kind of around and on, then your water is going to do the magic for you. And it looks darker than what it will once it's dry. Everything kind of calms down and it looks really glossy because it's wet, but it will calm down. And I just want a little bit of this to the clouds on the bottom, maybe into the creases here. I'm going to put a little hint of it up here. No rhyme or reason, just kind of where I want to me this is our accent color. Oh, Rusty Hinge, how I love you. Okay, let's get this bad boy dried. And remember, if it's too much intensity, dab it with some clean water and take your cloth and give it a wipe. But we need a fair amount of intensity in order to have the wax do its thing too when we come to that part. How yous doing out there? Have any questions? Is it making sense? Because I don't want you going away thinking, well, I don't understand why she's doing what she's doing. Please ask and I'll do my best to explain what it is I'm doing and why. You can also take your brush as things are drying, and if you dab it, it kind of just leaves these little texture feather marks. And it also pulls up color too. So if you get too much or too much water, you can use your brush to remove it. Like I don't want to take away all that blue. And you see this part up here where I hit it with the water? It kind of just moved its way into the grooves, which is perfectly fine because that's kind of what I wanted it to do. Now, I don't feel like I hit this area with water as much as it needed. And there's some splatter and blending in the blue. Again, I love that, because that's what you want too. You want the colors to move and kind of be one. Like even in the black down there, there's some movement happening, which I like. And you tilt it and you just make it go wherever you want. We are going to do a few splatters with this color too, just because. And I like the different intensities of the arrow. Like this one's fairly light, this one's dark, and how you do that is you just keep hitting it with water. So like that one I like, this I like. The starfish is still a little bit too intense on the top. I want to matte that out a little bit. So you can just pull the color right out. It's kind of like put it down, take it away. And we can go back with a little bit of black if this didn't flow the way, like I find this is too splotchy. So I'll go back in with a little bit of the gray maybe. Now this part here is still a little bit too intense for me. So I'm just gonna pull that away. Oh my. What do you think so far? I do need to put, I'm going to go back and fix this up. I was okay with some splatters, like the way this one dripped down. I like that. The way this kind of moved upwards, I like that. But this kind of just went pop, and I don't like that. So I'm going to see where my gray is. Hickory smoke. And I'm sure I have some down there in a pellet somewhere, but I have no idea where that's at. So I'm just going to drop a little bit. I can't trust myself to, because they all look really similar when they're inside the pellet because they're so concentrated. So I'm just going to go over this little area here with some hickory smoke. And it will push that brown color around. And if I take my fingers as well, need a little more. There, I like that better. I'm okay with the concentration of brown and black mixing down here in this very edge. That's pretty. I'm just going to take my cloth and just lightly dab up the extra because I like it. I just don't want it to take forever to dry. Next we're going to start working on our lighthouse. I love this color combination. Well, that's why I was drawn to that paper. Okay, so our lighthouse, I'm going to go back to a picture in our book to kind of give me some leeway. Okay, there's a bigger picture. So I think I'm going to go back to the antique linen for they kind of did inside. Well, it's, of course, this isn't exactly like the picture, so we'll have to improvise a little bit. But definitely some blues. So we're going to have to find a complementary paler blue to kind of do in here, and then with some grays. Hi, Carol. Welcome. And I think I'm going to use the antique linen down here for the windows, and definitely up here somewhere. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean out my wells. I'm just going to move this for a minute. I have lots of pellets here, but it's just as easy to scoop this out and start clean. I don't want to make an error and mix paints, especially when we're going back. I'll leave that one there. When we're going back to a light color like antique linen. Okay. Sip of coffee. What time is it there, Carol? Are you joining from Ontario? So recap as to how we got to where we're at so far with our color. The first thing we did is I just knew I had to put color down, and it's always so intimidating to start putting color down. You're an Oshawa. Very good. So I just used an antique linen, which I knew was kind of in the color palette that I wanted to go. It was light. I knew it would dry very light, but I just took it and sprayed it. And that just gave me the encouragement or the courage to continue, because now I've made the project dirty in one sense. So now I had to go in and add more color. And then we started with our kind of our darker color down here. This is, I imagine this is like a big rock where the lighthouse is sitting on. We did the blues for the sky, coming down into more intense, darker blues as we get closer to the ocean. We added this rusty hinge, which I have to say, I am really enjoying. And no worries, if something's too dark, just wet your brush. You see how you can wet your brush and pick up the paint, and you can take it off. So again, until we seal this with waxes or something, it will remain water reactive. So we're going to use some antique linen for the door, and we're not going to be too fussy because we're going to be spraying, and the colors will kind of blend a little bit, but we do want to make sure that we're hitting the highlights. I'm going to do the windows. What do you guys do with your projects once they're done? I didn't do anything to the back. You certainly could cover it with paper if you wanted. Another idea you can do is make a little album, like not something crazy, but one that's accordion pull, and have it so that it's all tied up in the back. So you could incorporate a little photo album if you've done a trip to the ocean for like a vacation, and you can have that in the background. All kinds of things you can do. But I am just going to display this on my cupboards. I put some two-sided tape and I stick it right to my cupboard doors. The ones that I really like, I only have one up there right now. I haven't done a lot. I haven't done a lot of this. I love it, but it's almost like I have to have a purpose to do it, which is sad because it is fun art. Get a little bit more of our antique linen. And then right at the very tippy top, and I'm just going to hit these areas with a little bit of water. And what that really does is it pushes the ink into the crevices. So like the door and the windows, it will really make them pop because the ink is actually going to the crevices within that molding, if that makes sense to you. So I really like that. The other thing that you always have to keep in mind is ink, depending on what you're inking, it may look a little bit different. So like my wooden pieces, these are the clouds. They took the ink a little bit different than the resin pieces, and then it took the ink a little bit different on top of the modeling paste, but it all works. Now while that's drying a little bit, I want to look for a blue that I haven't used before. Oh, thank you, Carol. And we're not even done yet. It's kind of in the getting there. Still a little wet. I don't dry like it, but you can see there's loads of dimension. Where was I at? Oh, blue. A blue, I want to use one that I haven't necessarily used before. Although I do like the tumbled glass. Yep, maybe we're going to do tumbled glass because it will draw the eye back down. Is that tumbled glass? I think so. It will draw the eye back down. It can only get better. You're right. Like you start, it looked good when there was no ink on it, and then we started and it was like, holy geez, Louise, this is one hot mess. And then we just continue. So we're just adding a little bit of blue, and I don't like the way that that's looking. Actually, it's sitting, the antique linen that's within that area is turning it kind of green. So this is where you can get a little bit delicate. And actually, I'm going to go grab a Q-tip. You hang on so that we can pick up the browns from the areas that we're going to lay blue on. Okay. Because I don't want green, so I'm just going to take a little water. Gotta watch myself because I'm putting stuff on top of my stop video button. And I'm just going to take a little bit of water, and that will help me remove the antique linen ink where I want to put the blue. And it's not all going to come off, and that's okay. And as I said, you kind of want your colors to marry and blend together. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, that's better. I am going to hit it with water anyway, so they will blend a little bit. I was saying last night, artists that can do a full project in seems like very little time. That's not me. I have real fun with the detail. So I'm that kind of nitpicker. Like, you know, I have to really tell myself to stop, that it's done. And maybe a little blue up here. And we'll top this one up with a little bit of blue. Now we're going to hit it with some water. And as we do that, like everything behind it is getting hit at the same time. Now I like that. I like how the water on the lighthouse, like it's pushing the blue to the edges, and it's making it concentrated in some spots and lighter in others. Like you really have to use your water. The very bottom, what colors do we have up here? I think I want the very bottom to be like gray or black. What's this? Oh, that's black. Just going to blend a little bit. It's wet from the water, so I'm just going to add a little bit of the black. It will still have some shades of blue in there as well, but the black will just spread. Oh, I like that. So much so, maybe we'll add a little darkness up here. Because everything is still wet. I didn't dry it yet. Just adding little bits of blue or black. Same black that we used on our rock, just to accent. And because the piece is wet, it's just kind of flowing where it wants to. Which is in the crevices of the piece. Okay. What do you think so far? I am liking it. So, where do we go from here? I really want to do more deep shadowing on some pieces, but for that I'm going to bring in my Tim Holtz crayons because we are using his product, so the crayons on top is only going to make it even better. I really love how that lighthouse has come out, and it's not done yet. You guys wait till we put the wax on. The wax on the top is just gonna be mwah, the finishing touch. But I'm really liking it. Okay, are you with me? We've been in this for an hour and a half, and as I said, Heather, please give me the hook if you need this Facebook page for anything else. Just grab me and I will continue on, and I will show you the finished product afterwards. But I'm just going to do a quick tidy here and put these things to the side because I'm done with the paint. Throwing that away, but I gotta get up and get my crayons. This is exciting. I wasn't gonna go to the crayons. I never thought I'd get to the crayons, or I'd want to, but I really want to. And as long as you guys are in with me and don't mind this video being long, then I'm okay with it. And we're not going to use the water. I'm going to put that aside and grab my crayons. Love watching the whole process. Oh, I'm glad, Shelly. Yeah, I get pretty excited. Like, I'm really loving how that's coming out. This is probably going to go down as one of my favorite pieces. Well, the color palette is right up my alley. So, okay, crayons, where are you? They're not far. Everything is within reach to my chair. And I have the six packs. Of course, Mr. Tim Holtz and I have a secret love affair, even though he doesn't know it. He is my creative god. So we can eliminate some packs right off. These are like the pinks and reds. I don't need anything in that one. The greens, don't need nothing in that one. Blues, definitely. These are kind of purples. There's some grays, and the black is in here, so I'm going to keep that one out. I am going to go in and get Rusty Hinge from this one. And about drying, if you have the ability to let things air dry, like we did the lighthouse, I didn't hit it with heat because I'm going to work on other parts and kind of let that do its thing, that is always the best. So like if you have the time just to walk away, I'm not that patient of a person though. I most often dry as much as I can, but then this part I can kind of wait and pull it out. And then the browns, let's see. I don't think I need too many from the brown. Well, yes, Hickory Smokes here, so I'm going to use that on the birds. And is there anything else in here? Antique Linen is here, but I don't think I'm going to add that to anything because I just love how like it hit the different areas, so I'm okay with that one for now. So I think the colors that we're going to work with the most, I'm just going to clean my brushes and get them out of the water. I did treat myself to some kind of nicer brushes that I like to take care of, but I do have a lot of regular old brushes, and actually my favorite brush to use with this is a water brush. And I don't use the water in the pen, but the water brush itself, I love how the tip flows. We all have our favorites. So let me pull out of here just so that I can have at hand the things that we need. Black soot. Weather wood. I don't think I'll need that one. But we'll need a few of the blues. So I did go ahead and sort my pencils. They're not as they were bought. I put them in different color palettes, different color things, and that way it's very easy for me to pull out what I want. So there's a little bit of Chipped Sapphire. We're going to take that one. We're going to concentrate on the dark colors that we used. And I know Ocean, Salty Ocean. And to lift your pencils, press from the bottom and then they'll pop up. And if they break, listen, no worries. The broken ones work just as good as the unbroken. And I think Broken China or Tumbled Glass. Broken China maybe. Tumbled Glass might be just, well, I'll pull it out anyway just in case we want to use it. So that's the colors. And if you can do that, just pull out what you're going to use. You'll also keep more focused. That's it works for me because I'm kind of here, there, and everywhere. So I do have water in this pen, and I will put some down on my sheet here, and I'll use from that. And right now, like, that tip is way too wet, so I'm just going to wipe it off. And then how I like to use these pencils is I pick up the color from the pencil and apply it. So all I want to do is just really add some dark shadows. I need glasses. I'm not going to be able to do this part without glasses. Let's see how well these ones work. I just want to add some dark shadows to certain areas of the pencil. And yes, it's laying down some water, so there's going to be some movement of the color that's there. But I'm also depositing color on top that I'm not going to now spray. So I'm just going to let it dry on its own. And it just, where it naturally went dark with the spray, that's the areas I'm hitting. And you can, don't be afraid to use your finger to kind of make it more organic. It's kind of a word to describe it, because you don't want to make it look like, you know, it's a straight line or a daub. It's kind of organically just flows that way. A lot of people use these, dip them in the water, and then bring the color right to it. I don't have as much control that way. And even though I'm very good at giving up control with mixed media, if I'm doing something like shading that's pretty particular, then I want control over that. I'm just going to kind of go back and forth wherever there's rusty hinge and add some pigment. And the less water that you have on your brush, then the more pigment that's going to be deposited. I hope by watching this you guys can see that anybody can do this. This isn't like difficult art, but you do have to be open to the mess of it. If the mess of it before you get to the point where you're liking it, it really is bothersome for you, this might be a stress-induced activity versus a relaxing one. For me, it's very relaxing. And at the end of the day, have I thrown away projects? Yes, but not many, because I'll walk away and revisit it in 2 or 3 days most likely. And if I still really hate it and I don't see any way to fix it, then yeah, I toss it. It hasn't happened often, but it has happened. And all I've invested was my time, but then I learned from it. I learned what I liked and what I didn't like about that. Do you need to do this shading? No, you don't have to do it. It would be fine to finish where we were at. It looked beautiful to me, but I have these products and it just adds the little extra flair. So why not use them? And not just because I love Tim Holtz, but these are the best pencils for pigment that I've ever used. And I've had a number, I still have a number of them in my drawer. I'm kind of a collector of defined things. My excuse is that one day I'll have to retire, or I'll want to retire, and then I won't have the disposable income. So I buy it all now, so that I'll have it then. Oh, I like the way the starfish come. There's some black soot in there, and we'll add more to it with the crayons, and there's a little bit of the antique linen in there. So my brush is not wet at all right now. It's pretty dry, which is good. Like, it's just wet enough to pick the pigment up. And it's going on just like paint. Okay, I think I'm good with that one, so I'm going to set that there. And I'm going to wash my brush in my water over here instead of pulling it down, because I don't want the brush right wet again. That's why I put some water here. That's just going to help me pull a little bit of water instead of having my brush so wet again. So when I first start picking up the color, I spread the water around to activate the pigment until when I know that my brush is kind of loaded with pigment, and then we'll start laying it down. So this is a little bit of the hickory smoke, and I don't know how well it's going to show up actually, but I think I pulled it out mostly for these seagulls. At least that's what they are to me. I just wanted to add more pigment in that area. You guys are all so quiet. stopped raining out here for now, but it's still kind of dull, and it's actually chilly. I'm hoping my plants survive this. We didn't get any freezing temperatures, but it's chilly. And I'm just turning the project around, and as you shouldn't try to manipulate your arms and your head for your project. Move your project so that you can get at it at a comfortable space. Nobody wants to be a hunchback. Although I'm definitely hidden there because that's just my normal posture. I don't have great posture. Now, is there any place else I want hickory smoke? I think I'm good with the hickory smoke, and I'm going to go right into black soot. And so I'm not going to clean my brush because, well, black soot is black soot. I'm going to get it loaded up, and I am going to touch up some spots down here where I want it to look darker. And black soot's a wonderful shadow color. Like, you know, around this starfish. Please, you guys, I look at the time and I'm like, yikes. Let me know if you, I know you can turn me off if you're tired of it. But not often do I show you a process right to the very end. Usually at this point I log off and then I finish it and bring it back finished. But if nothing's going on the Facebook this afternoon that I need to jump off for, because there can only be one live at a time, then I will just keep doodling. And you see how the shadow is bringing that color in? It's giving it some great dimension. Let's see if I can zoom in on that better. I don't touch these buttons up here often. And I'm not going to take the black soot up here because that's in the blue zone. I'll wait and do that with my blues. Well, this is a very step-by-step tutorial, so from last night to today. So save this video. If you want to see any of my videos on the Younique site, I always put them under Sherry's video. So if you hit the video tab and then go into Sherry's, it will be there. But I also upload them to my own YouTube, which is atticinspiredcrafter.ca on YouTube. Because I like to keep a record of kind of the projects that I do for myself. And this is where you can, remember I said you don't have to have defined lines to separate your rock from the water. But if you wanted to, just make some jaggedy bits and edges, then you can do that with your detailing. I love getting the whole process. Thanks so much for doing this. Well, it's certainly my pleasure. I just worry that I'm not giving you content that you want, because I don't want to waste anybody's time. But of course, if it's not for you, you can turn it off. That's for sure. And dab this down. And these high points are going to get hit with some wax, so they're really going to bounce out once we bring the wax in there. So I'm not too focused on those, but I do like to get into the low points just to bring out more of that detailing. And I won't do a lot with the black soot, but there's a few areas here and there of the modeling paste. So whatever stencil you choose to use will kind of guide you as to what the low points are, where you might want to add some shadowing. And I like to darken kind of the corners of things. It just kind of gives it that edge. I would really like to make a project like this. Oh, you're welcome, Shelley. No problem at all. And there's certainly no pressure from Heather to do long videos, that's for sure, but that's kind of who I am. Unique is a good fit for me because I'm pretty unique. And practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. Start small, but if you bought the kit, start with the kit. Whatever you come up with is going to be beautiful. Now, if you make a mistake with your pencils, like if you have the Tim Holtz pencils and you're doing some shadowing and you're like, I don't like that, take a Q-tip, wet it down, and wipe it up. It's as easy as that. Oh, I think I'm going to put a little bit of black soot on the birds just to help highlight their wings. Again, when we do the wax, they'll get hit pretty good with that, but it's nice to add the color as well. I call the seagulls they're really the scavengers of the sky, because they really will eat anything. And if you don't have supplies, if you don't have something that you've seen me use that you kind of like, go check out Heather. As far as the chipboard pieces and metal embellishments, I get those when they're on sale, and I just kind of, like, I'm running out of the chipboard pieces. And I necessarily don't get them for a purpose, but I'll get things that are generically designed that I can use them for whatever. Gears, arrows, like things that I don't really have to have a particular theme, but I can, watches, things like that. So like when you see those items come on sale, or if they're part of a collection kit, grab them and just have a little stash. You don't have to have a huge stash. Like I said, mine's just about gone for chipboard, so I have to get some new ones. And I mean just the cardboard chipboard, like not, well, I guess it could be colored. It could be by paper pattern. You would just gesso over them. Okay, and I think I am going to do a, well, no, I'll wait and do that with the blue. Okay, I think that's it for the black soot, so I'm putting that crayon over here. Cleaning my pencil, and now we're going to work on Chipped Sapphire. So just the areas where it's really dark, and even underneath this lighthouse, I'm going to hit it with a little Chipped Sapphire to really brighten it up. And again, it's the low areas that I'm putting the color on for the shadowing. And it's going to be depending on whatever stencil you use. And that's why I like using stencils for this sort of stuff, because of how it makes the ink flow. And again, it can be a generic stencil. I have a big stash of stencils. I don't know about you guys. You guys collect stencils? I do, but I do use them. Like I'll make a point of using them. My husband just came in. He's probably wondering, well, gee, she's still on? Yeah, I'm still on. I'm just going to tilt that up a little bit to see for myself. I have to remember to do that. I just want to get that line. So again, if you've got harsh lines, just add a little bit of water to it. These are water reactive. And I'm going to go in here a little bit.
You still at it, Tom, right?
I'm still at it. Your clothes are dried though. You guys have the pencils? Oh, you're a stencil collector? Yeah, Shelly, I love them. Like, I have big stencils, I have small stencils, I have really small stencils. I just love them. They're cheap, and when I'm doing the gel prints, I don't care if they get dirty and stain. Like, I really don't care. They're a piece of plastic, and I really like them. I'm finding more particular now, though, with which ones I buy, because I have so much that I do like different. I like different patterns. I try to make sure that it's not something that I already have. And I do have a lot of the Stemperia ones and the Finnabar ones because I love them, and I am loving the All and Create ones. So my little stash of those are growing because, again, they're generic. They're not just for one type of print, and I really like that. Can you see what the shadowing's doing? Is the camera picking it up? How it's really highlighting areas? I hope you can see that. The lighthouse will stay the lightest because it's in the forefront. Everything else behind it will kind of get shadowed and just be this mystical sight. But I hope you can see on the camera the shadowing. Okay. So, like, I only used the Chip Sapphire on the bottom part, so I'm not going to bring it to the top part. I'm going to switch now. And Salty Ocean. Maybe I'll do a little Salty Ocean because that's down here too. Okay. I love using the distress line because, like, especially now that the inks and the pencils, you can kind of have so easy to match and to do different things. Anybody even doing with me? I know that the kit sold, which is awesome, but has anybody done? And I know yours isn't going to be exactly like mine because you don't have necessarily the same pieces I put down, but that doesn't matter. The bases of it, the seagulls, the lighthouse, will be pretty similar, and I can't wait to see what she's done with it. I'm going to put some of this one in the center, although I think we're covering this. Or I thought I'd cover it. And I was doing it yesterday with some bubbles, which will be the very last thing that we lay down. Again, just kind of tracing the low points. May not seem like a lot, but it does make a big difference. Okay, so that's kind of salty ocean. I'm going to dry this, wet this again. And we are going to take broken china, and then tumbled glass will be the last, and that's for the upper part. So those are the colors that I used up. Well, I used Stormy Sky up here, but I think the broken china will complement the Stormy Sky. I could have used the Stormy Sky too, but I think it will complement it very well. We're getting there. We're almost there. What are you guys going to do with the paper from the kit? And you might choose to use your paper to cover the tag and then do something on top of it with your resin pieces, and that would be very pretty too. So this whole mixed media stuff isn't your jam, although I can't imagine if you bought the kit. I was pretty open to what it was, and I think you guys know me by now. When I say mixed media, you're getting it. You're getting the, could be anything. So our next class together will be our art journal class for June, and that's in a few weeks. Saturday, 6 o'clock my time, 5 yours. It's on the calendar. Diane did a beautiful job on the calendar release today. I woke up to read that. It was beautiful. And I watched her pieces last night as I was going to bed, and some beautiful things to show there. I'm going to hold this up and have a look-see. See where I'm at. I think I'm good with that one. And then my last one here is tumbled glass. So we'll get some of this color down, and then we'll move to the waxes. I haven't used the waxes before with you guys. And this is the only time I really use them, is when I'm doing stuff like this. So I haven't used them in a while, so it'll be a good little refresher for me. And this is tumbled glass. And we did do tumbled glass on our lighthouse, so I might go in there with a little bit. Although it's not dark enough. I should have went in there with my broken china, which maybe I will come back to. So I'm just kind of looking where I had the tumbled glass before, and just putting down some more color again in the low sections, so the receding areas. Before we add the wax, I will have to hit this with the heat gun and make sure it's dry. Actually, the tumbled glass is working good now that I have nice thick pigment to draw from. I think it will be enough. I just kind of want one side of it to have more color than the other, kind of shadowing. I'm going to go back to the black soot and get a little bit darker down here in the lighthouse. Then we're going to dry it and get to our waxes. And I'm not coloring the whole thing, I'm just drawing it in, like darker on the edges, and then flicking it in to the center just to kind of highlight it. Currently making seahorse and seaweed moles. That'll be pretty, Michelle. I love seeing what you guys do. Are you at the store doing the molds, or are you home? Do you have the molds at home? I have some molds here. Actually, I have the gears and clocks, I think. So things that I kind of use more often. Okay. Give that a minute to dry. I'm going to put away my crayons. Well, I'm not going to put them away. I'm just going to put them to the side in case I decide I need more. And now I'm going to look at my waxes. But I'm going to dry this. Take a great day for crafting. Yes, it is. I don't know what it's doing there, but it's very overcast here, raining on and off. cool and damp. I do big flower beds, my husband and I. So during the summer, if it's nice out, I am outside. And that's why I put my classes to a later time in the day, this month and probably next month. Okay. Now, are you ready to see some real magic? So this is what we have so far, and I'm loving it. I really, really like the way it turned out. It turned out kind of what I had imagined. The rusty hinge was a big surprise for me. I was not going to use that until I looked at the paper pad, and I seen a little bit of it in one of the paper pads, and I'm like, that will be perfect as the accent color. So I have denim, faded denim, and I really want to think about where I want to put the waxes. And I do have some of these little brushes, which are handy. They are Finnabar, and they help you put waxes. I prefer to use my finger, but in little areas that I can't get my finger, I will use a brush. I definitely want to use the Age Brass wherever we have windows, and over these little pillars. I have black in here too, and I have pearl white for the, okay, let's start with the pearl white with the seagulls. That would be a good starting point. So wax, it's very thick. Look at my dirty fingers. I should try to wash them first, because when I can, I like to use my fingers for this. And I don't want the color to come off in the wax. Probably won't, because the wax is made up of something totally different than the inks. And you just need a little bit. So like, I'm putting that much on my finger, even taking some off, and I'm very lightly going to rub over the seagull. And I know you can see on camera what's happening. It's hitting the high points of the seagull, and it is just giving it this very shiny and shimmering look. I'll hold it up in a minute so you can see one seagull done and one undone. So that one is done. And I don't know if you can tell. That one's not done. It's kind of dull. It looks pretty on its own, but that little bit of wax just pops it out. And it does nothing to the color stays intact. So whatever color's underneath it is going to stay intact. Oh, I like that. We're getting to the finale. So and I'm going to put a little bit over this sector right here that I did not paint. And I didn't paint it on purpose. I just thought I'd leave a little bit of a blank space. And those little areas are filling in with some wax, which is nice. And the wax has a very unique smell to it. It took me a while to kind of get used to it, but now that I have, I do like it. Now there's also called Old White. So let's try a little bit of that. And the Old White is great too. Like you see where and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to put color in the regress or the divots of my stenciling, because if I take this Old White and kind of just gently rub the surface. You might have to do it a couple of times. Oh, like sometimes the wax, if you haven't used it for a while, will have this resin that kind of comes out. So I'm going to waste that little bit, because there was like just some liquid resin that was coming out with the wax. And these products aren't meant to last forever, that's for sure. But these ones really will last a very, very long time because they're in a tube situation. But if you get some of that liquidy stuff coming out before the color, now if you want to use your brush, I can put a little bit down on my mat, and it's almost like if you've ever done toll painting where you do oh gosh, what's that called? Where you're just putting some highlights over the top. Airbrushing. It's kind of a process that you can't rush. You have to take your time. And the more raised your stencil is, the more it will hit those spots. So it's just kind of whitening it up, it's softening it up. The other thing you can do for white, if you don't have waxes, is you can use gesso, but just be very careful, because if you put down too much, it's going to cover your ink. Same as this stuff though, so you just soft hand over the raised areas. And sometimes you have to do like a few runs before you'll see it, before you'll see the effect, but you have to have patience, because you don't want to cover up all the beautiful painting and laying of color that we spent the last 2 hours doing. Put a little bit more down, because I would like to cast the white over like where we have dark blues at. So white gesso will do it. Just be very mindful that you don't want very much at a time. And it's a good sealer for your project. So I hope you can see how the embossed parts are starting to jump to the surface a little more. They're coming to the forefront instead of being in the back. It's hard to get in under where the and my paint is still a little bit wet too, which is making it a bit challenging. so the wax is kind of having a hard time sticking to it. If I wasn't doing this, I probably would have left this dry completely on its own before doing the wax, but I really want you guys to see this part. So I'll be patient. And you have to really clean your brushes well. I clean them with soapy water to get all the wax residue out. Okay, so you might be able to see it on the starfish a little bit better, the white, because we have brown undertones. And it just makes that little starfish pop. Like there are some numbers on this clock. So if we lighten the clock, the numbers are going to pop because the paint is in the numbers. And you see the little starfish? It seems like such a small detail, but when you see the project in person, it makes all the difference. Okay, so I'm going to put this brush aside for now, and I'm going to pick up this wax, just so I don't mix it with something else. Oh, I never checked to see if wax will come off with silicone, but it doesn't matter. This mat is used, and that's what it's for. That's my motto with things. If it stains, so be it. It shows that I used it. So we're going to put the white on, and I do have a patina green. I have a rusty brown. I'm going to try the age brass first. Definitely to the lights. And then that will tell us if... Where's my gold? Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, definitely the brass, just because of the brown tones. I'm going to do the windows. The windows are still a little wet on the inside, but what I'm hitting is the outside. And then we're going to get the outside of this. And when this dries, this is going to be so shiny, these areas. I'm going a little heavy because I want a little bit of that in the inside the crevices of the windows. I'm going to hold it up. Can you see it? Can you see the brass? Oh, I gotta do my top. And I think I'm going to stay with the age brass for the brown areas. I thought about moving to the gold. I really like the gold, but I think it might be a little bit too contrasting. So we're just gonna do some swipes. And if your embellishment is completely flat, it will want to cover it. So just make sure you're mindful to just touch your finger on the edges. And just to pull some of that in. I hope you guys can see this. You can see it, Shelley? I hope you can see it. And you just need like so little of it. but it makes such a difference. Do some on the anchor, and I'm going to hit the high points of what I'm calling the fishing net, but it's really just a piece of chipboard that I had kicking around. And I'm just going to hit the clouds from the edges. I don't want to cover the paint of them. I love the clouds the way they came out, but I definitely want them to have some of that shimmer. I don't know if you guys can see that, but wow, the difference that it's making. Okay, so I want to get some on the black, so we're going to get the black, charcoal black. Just cleaning off my finger. Oh, this one's got a little bit of that liquidy stuff too. Good reminder to use it. So it's going to pick up on the stenciling. So that's a good reminder of when you are stenciling behind projects like this, try to put your stenciling somewhere where it's a little bit open, where you're going to be able to, especially if you're using waxes, that you're going to be able to really highlight. And even where it's smooth, you can put some wax down. So that's the black. My fingers, I'm not sure what I do to get that off, but I'll have to figure it out. I think I'm going to use the patina blue instead of the faded denim. And I did put some white before, so I'm kind of pressing a little bit harder to make this wax go down into the creases. You don't need much wax at all. I wish they actually made these tubes like half the size. what do I have left? I wanted to do a little bit of, no, that's the white gold. We did the brass. And take the brass again and just do a little bit over the water or the rock. Okay, I think we're just about there. The only thing I want to do is I do want to glue down some of these little glittery bits. And for that, I'm wondering what's the best option. I could take my gel medium. I think that's what I'll do. So the heavy gel medium that I used yesterday, I'm going to take my pointy palette knife and I'm just going to lift a little bit. Like I said, it's quite thick and I just want this glitter in areas, so I'm going to put some glue down and this will dry completely clear. And then I'll get a little spoon here somewhere. I should have something underneath that to catch. I'll worry about that after, before I dump it. So it's just like all these little glitter bits. And I'm just going to press it into the glue. And I'll dump off the excess when I show you. On all these areas that have like little nuggets of space. I don't know where I got this little spoon. I got it from something and I remembered seeing it and thinking, yep, you're going in my little chunky drawer. There's like gold and brown and speckles. And it just brings a little sparkle to things. I think I'm going to put a little bit kind of down and around the rock edges. Remember I said I was the detail queen? Well, I'm not lying. And this is the hardest job for me, to step away and say it's enough. And not all this is staying on there. I'm just tapping it into the glue. So what doesn't stay on, I will put back in the jar. But before I dump it, I want to get as much on as I think I need. The glue doesn't like to stick to anything that's been waxed. So maybe some up top. And I think I just want a little bit over on this side somewhere just to balance things. I'm going to see if I can put something just right here. Okay, now let me find something to dump that on. Oh, I need to leave this out for 1 minute. Take a piece of paper here. I need a big piece of paper. A little jar. Quite a bit stayed on. That's what I like about that glue. You can put big chunks of it on, and it's going to stay. And I know I've got little beads running all over my desk here, but I'll suck them up with the vacuum cleaner. And then my jewels, and we are calling it done. So these little baubles, these glow so fantastic that I absolutely love them. They are a Finnabar product. They're called Art Pebbles, Heather, if anybody asks. Millage Art Pebbles Vintage Retro. And I have had them for a long time, so I don't even know if it's something that's available anymore. But we're going to lay some of these down with the glue, and I want to make them purposeful. Oh, lost one to the floor. There's different shapes in here, and there's like yellow, there's some darker ones, so maybe we'll take a darker one. I wanted to put it someplace like maybe right here on top of the anchor. I'd like to put 5 down if I can. If I can find room for 5. Another little one here. And another fairly larger one. I'm just going to put it right up here. And that glue will dry clear. One, two, three, four, so one more. I don't think I want a yellow one, but I would like to get another large one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's too large. Oh, I know, I'm so fussy, aren't I? Maybe that's the same size as that one, though. I don't want that. Don't want a right large one. This one. Oh, darn it. I think we need to do 7. So I want one up here. And that means we have to do one more. So boom, boom, boom. So we're kind of going this way. And in there. So maybe one right here. And we'll go large again. But what color? Let's see what a yellow one looks like. It's too yellow, I think. These white ones kind of take on whatever color is around them. They're very cool. We are done. Like, we are done. And I'll get some good pictures. I'm going to give you a close-up here. And I'll post them. 2 hours and 42 minutes on this part. And we spent 2 hours yesterday just putting it together. So mixed media is not for the faint of heart. It is for people that really enjoy just crafting and trying different things and using your stash of odds and ends that you never use and just trying something fun. So here we are, all the sparkly bits. You can see them sparkling down there. Oh, thank you, Shelley. I'm very happy how it turned out. I wish you could see it in person because it's always more spectacular, but like all the little bits, that was the little sparkles that we put on. Lots of detail. I'll get some pictures outside before it gets dark. And I hope you enjoyed this very much, and I hope you use the tips and tricks that I have to create your own masterpiece. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.